Welcome to June, and let's talk about some platformers. After a very busy few months with a lot of great games coming out, it's a bit of a quieter month. We have a few releases here and there, but it's slowly starting to quiet down. Let's talk about what came out in May. In the first week of May, on the 6th, we got Motor Slice from Regular Studio and Top Hat Studios. This is the Prince of Persia-like sci-fi game with you controlling a character called P and destroying a bunch of big machines. It seems to have done very well with 2,265 reviews on Steam with an aggregate of very positive. I have a review out for this. I liked the game a lot. I had issues with it. I ended up giving the game a conditional recommend if you can tolerate the control issues and the weird sexualization of the main character. The control issues have since been mostly addressed in a patch by the developers, so it's mostly the writing being an issue for me now, but still, again, a conditional recommend, and despite the writing, there's a lot of fun to be had with this game, and it's one of the more unique settings we've seen in a long time. A mere 5 days later, on the 11th of May, we have Dragonhop by Dust Rider Studios. This one has 31 reviews with an aggregate of positive. This is a precision platformer with a focus on getting to the top. It's one of those games where you're climbing super high and have to be careful not to fall down. I know that's basically every platformer, but it's one of those where you're gonna rage if you fall down. It looks good. It seems like a lower budget, lower priced game, so give this a look if you want something that won't break the bank. And from Dragons, we go to Bobcats with Bubsy 4D on the 22nd of May by Fabraz and Atari. Fabraz being, of course, the developers of Demon Tides and Demon Turf, two games I adore. This game continues Fabraz's focus on expressive platforming with a more linear approach than Demon Tides. It has 502 reviews on Steam with an aggregate of very positive. I have played it and I like it, but it's not grabbing me like Demon Tides and Demon Turf did. And it's probably going to end up being my least favorite Fabraz game, but only because their other games are just that good. If I went into this game blind, knowing it's a Bubsy game, I would think, wow, this is a really good game. But because Fabraz has made some of my favorite platformers in recent years, I only like the game. I am not head over heels in love with it, you know? But still, it's worth a look, and there's a demo out if you want to give it a shot. I'd love to see Fabraz tackle all these long-gone mascots. And finally, on the 28th of May, we have Robosynthesis by Coco Team. And this is actually a free student project developed by 5 students from Eastern Michigan University. I really like how the game looks. It's got a bunch of shooting, it's got a nice art style and animation, and it's got 7 reviews on Steam, mostly positive. Some of them criticize the camera and some small stuff like the game's performance, but the developer is actually responding to these reviews and releasing patches to address these issues. I love student projects. They're free and they're very different from what you usually see. Give this one a look. And that was all the releases for May. Let's talk about some classics. First, we have your legally mandated Jak 2 mod section, and this time we're highlighting the local multiplayer mod for Jak 2 by Reddit user Leon Gagin. Every single one of these mods looks like a dream come true for child me. I would have loved to explore Haven City with another person. Looks great. I hope more classic platformers end up getting decompiled because this stuff is only possible because of fans, and I want to see more of this. I would love to play a Sly Cooper or Ratchet & Clank campaign with another person. Be amazing. And speaking of Ratchet & Clank mods, here is a Ratchet & Clank mod for the PlayStation 2 version of Ratchet & Clank that adds strafing. Now, you might know this or you might not, but the first Ratchet & Clank game is the only game in the series, at least the mainline ones, that does not have strafing at all, which means you had to specifically point at where you wanted to shoot. This mod adds in the feature to strafe. Now, obviously the game was not designed for this, but it's still really interesting and removes that little roadblock when you want to play the original Ratchet & Clank and don't want to struggle with very arcade controls. This makes it just that much better than the 2016 remake. And finally, this one's cool, not as cool, but Donkey Kong 64 is finally available legally on the Nintendo Switch Online service, which I believe joins Banjo-Kazooie and Banjo-Tooie on Nintendo's online service, which means if you're in a rare mood, this NSO service is a fantastic deal for a bunch of rare platformers. May also had a bunch of new game announcements. Let's talk about them. First of all, we have Palingenesia by Cozy Fox. This one has you exploring the ruins of a mysterious castle in a Metroidvania. This kind of reminds me of Devil May Cry. It's got a bunch of combat. It's got a protagonist wearing a red coat. It looks really cool. It has an interesting art style. And I, for one, welcome more 3D Metroidvanias. At thankfully here's another 3D Metroidvania called Netherspire, and this comes to Charlie Wagner, the developer of Hypogea, which is a game I really enjoyed that came out a few months ago. I actually have an interview with Charlie if you'd like to check it out from a few months ago. But just like Hypogea had you exploring a massive underground structure, Netherspire has you exploring the ruins of a colossal tower. Unlike Hypogea, this one actually has some combat, and obviously it's a Metroidvania, so you're going to be learning new moves throughout the game. I love Charlie's games, and I hope he keeps doing what he's doing because he's doing a great job. This next one would be amazing as a Metroidvania, but unfortunately it's not. It is Garfield Escape from Monday. This looks to be a linear platformer. It comes from the developers of the Smurfs games, and I actually had a pretty good time with the first Smurfs game. So this is probably going to be a good game. Nothing to write home about, but you know, I don't think Bubsy should be the only orange cat coming back with a good platformer. I love me some licensed platformers. So why should we always focus on cats so much? Let's focus on mice. And that is what Polyarch is doing with their announcement of Moss the Forgotten Relic. Now, you might have heard of Moss. This is a VR platforming series with 2 games, and this game, The Forgotten Relic, is a combination of the 2 games made for non-VR gameplay. At least that's what I think. I know the VR Moss games are highly revered for being good VR platformers, so it'll be interesting to see how they translate that into a flat screen experience. And I mean, look at this little thing. It's adorable. So that was 4 new game announcements. Let's talk about updates. Some eagle-eyed viewers would notice that the list of releases was missing a game that I mentioned last month, and that's Sonky's Lagoon. This game was supposed to come out on the 28th of May. It was unfortunately delayed, and the developer announced that the game will be launching in early access sooner than later and fully launch in August. It's nice to have games planned out for the rest of the year, and I hope this game is as polished as it can be. Up next, we have some sad news, and that is that Crescent Overload is on indefinite hiatus, with developers citing reasons such as scope creep and burnout as reasons for this hiatus. This is a shame because the game looked great, and the developer's previous game, Pilfer's Story of Light, which came out a few years ago, was really fun and is a definite recommend for me. This is though completely understandable, and I really wish the developer the best. If you have $10 to spare and want to play a 5-hour platformer, Pilfer's Story of Light, definite recommend for me. And finally, we have some news, more so a resurfacing of a game that's been in development for a long time, and that's Happy Hell, with a video that shows off the progress of the game with a bunch of really cool things that show up. The vibes of this game is something I've never seen in any platformer, and I really want to be jumping around in this world. It's so weird, so interesting, and I hope it comes out eventually. Again, this isn't really news, it's more of a reminder that the game exists, but I'm still super happy to see that it still exists. Let's look at other games that exist next month with the releases. Now, I'm sure you'll notice that there's not much time left on the video, and that's because there's actually no new releases this month, which is odd, because it's the first time since I started this series that this happens. Now, there were some tiny releases that I saw that I usually would not highlight, only because sometimes the line between slop and game is kind of hard to tell, and this is absolutely no offense to people who try to make their games, but there's nothing that passed that threshold this month, which is interesting. And that's what I meant with the momentum slowing down. It's been a fantastic year for platformers, and I think this is the first lull, but also gives us a lot of time to catch up with the games that have come out this year, so I guess it's not really a negative. Feels weird to end the video just like that. I guess since we are in the 6th month of the year, what has been your favorite platformer of the year so far? Like I said, it's been a fantastic year, but for me, I think it is Mr. Sleepyman because of how unique and weird that game was. Go check that out if you haven't. It's such a great game. But yeah, let me know what your favorites have been, and I will see you when I see you. With no review coming up this month, I might be able to start a new series that I've been planning to start for a while. So if I have the time, keep an eye out for that. So yeah, thanks for watching and happy platforming.